Hello everyone, this is Indrajit Ganguly and welcome back to the video session of the French Revolution. Dear students, in my last video, you saw that how the French Revolution broke out in France in the year 1789. And in my today's video, you will find out how the common people of France will get rid of from the French monarchy, and there will be a new sunrise for France. After the French Revolution, France became a constitutional monarchy. However, having been stripped of almost all his power, King Louis XVI was not happy. So, he decided to launch a campaign with the help of Austria. As you know that the Queen of France, Marie Antoinette, belonged to the Austrian royal family. So, King Louis XVI believed that if they would reach Austria, then they will be safe. Therefore, they decided to leave the country. But the revolutionary leader came to know about the plan and caught both the king and queen near the border of France before they entered into Austria. They were brought back to Paris. Now the people of Paris became very angry and they lost all faith on royal family. In the year 1792, the National Assembly of France declared war against Prussia and Austria. Thousands of volunteers come to Paris to join the army against the outsider forces. To inspire themselves, they sang a patriotic song named Marseillaise, composed by the poet Roget de Lisle. It was sung for the first time by the volunteers from Marseillaise as they merged into Paris. The Marseillaise is now the national anthem of France. In this situation, Maximilien Robespierre came into the forefront of the revolution. He was a lawyer by profession and a great speaker and head by the Jacobin Club. The members of the Jacobin Club belonged to the less prosperous section of the society. Jacobins were also called sans-culottes, which means those without knee breeches. They wore long striped trousers and a red cap, which symbolized liberty. Meanwhile, the war was still going on with Austria. The expenses of war raised the prices of food again. On the morning of August 1792, thousands of people stormed the palace of the Tuileries where King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette lived. They massacred the king's guard and held the king himself as hostage for several hours. Meanwhile, the National Assembly dethroned the King Louis XVI and imprisoned his family members. On September 1792, a new assembly called the Convention was formed and France was declared republic. So, we can say that France was in the hands of common people. On January 1793, King Louis XVI was sentenced at death by a court on the charge of treason. Here, the word treason means the person who betrayed with his own country or own government. Queen Antoinette also executed in the same year. So we can say that finally there was an abolition of French monarchy and abolition of the Bourbon dynasty in the 18th century. After the execution of king and queen in 1793, a new republic was formed in France, which was also known as the Reign of Terror. It is the period from 1793 to 94. Robespierre followed a policy of severe control and punishment. He suspended the Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. All those whom he saw as being enemies of the Republic, such as ex-nobles, clergy, members of other political parties, even members of his own party who did not agree with his methods, were arrested, imprisoned, and then trialed by a revolutionary tribunal. And finally, they were guillotined. Now students, let me tell you some interesting things. Guillotine was a very unique punishment that was generated in 18th century. Where in this type of punishment you can see there is a machine where a blade basically comes down from the top and the head of the guilty person was being separated from the body. This technique was applied just in front of the common people. By this, the ruler, or we can say a dictator, will terrorize the people. So this kind of technique of punishment was improvised by Robespierre in the period of Reign of Terror. Robespierre government issued laws placing a maximum ceiling on wages and prices. Meat and bread were rationed. You will be surprised to know that white flour was totally prohibited. The common people will only buy whole wheat grains or whole wheat bread. Peasants were forced to transport their grains to the cities and sell it at the prices fixed by the government. Churches were shut down and their buildings converted into barracks or offices. Finally, in July 1794, Robespierre also executed with the machine called guillotine, and finally there was an end of a Reign of Terror. After the end of the Reign of Terror and fall of Jacobin government, wealthier middle classes seized the power and introduced a new constitution which denied the vote to non-propertized sections of the society and provided 2 elected legislative councils. Then a directory rule was established in the year 1795, an executive made up of 5 members. But directors often clashed with the legislative councils. In this period, Napoleon Bonaparte gained the control of the reign as a dictator. In 1804, Napoleon crowned himself as the Emperor of France. So we can say that in 1789, French Revolution started. In 1793, Bourbon dynasty was ended, monarchy was ended, but finally in 1804, once again, monarchy was started in France. So we can say that there was no consequences. So French Revolution never ended the monarchical system from France, and there was no establishment of a republican system. So students, this is it for today. In my next class, I will discuss with you that the condition of women in French society. Thank you and have a nice day.